أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We were talking about the lectures that were compiled into a book of Ayatollah Shahid Khamenei, Rahmatullah alayhi, 20 to 50-year-old man. We came to the part about the Holy Prophet and how and what were his indicators, what were his shafisat, what were the indicators of his government, and we mentioned a couple of them. And we said the aim of the Prophet was to establish an Islamic government. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about mostly focusing on the enemies that the Prophet faced. This analysis that the Prophet gives is a very interesting analysis about what happened to the Prophet's life. Before we begin, Imam Khamenei in the book, it is written, he mentions 2 points. What are the 2 foundations on which the government should be based upon, Islamic government? If you ask me, it comes from the narration of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha, that be good to your citizens, because either they are your brothers in faith, akhun laka fi din, or they are equal to you in humanity. So these are the 2 pillars. Either theologically they are like you, and therefore one foundation of the government should be Islamic. The other foundation of the government should be humanic. Today in Iran, if you see, even if you are not religious, but for the sake of humanity, the fact that a school, Minam school, was destroyed, people woke up. Some people might not be religious, they might come out on the street without hijab, but they know what is right and what is wrong. That humanity in them, insaniyat, is still there. So these are 2 foundations that you can apply in any Islamic government. And therefore, when the Prophet came inside, as you know, before he came to Medina to establish the government properly, he prepared the grounds in Makkah. He was preparing his companions. One of the companions that he prepared was Mus'ab bin Umair, rich person, good reciter of the Quran. He left his lifestyle and joined the Prophet after listening to the message. Some people claim that the people who followed the Prophet were only the poor people, the downtrodden, because they didn't have anything to do and no one was helping them, they were weak, so they came to the Prophet. But no, Musa bin Umair, a rich person, comes to the Prophet after listening to the message. He is the same person who left for Abyssinia as the Prophet was sending them after the persecution was happening. This Mus'ab bin Umair comes to Medina and teaches the Quran, and he is one of the people, pioneers you can call him, that caused the spread of Islam inside Medina. There was another person in Medina. By the way, these biographies, you can find them from YouTube, from Sayyid Muhammad Bakir Kazwini, Hafizullah. He has mentioned the biography of these companions. Musa bin Umair is one of them. When he came to Medina, there was one person, Sa'ad bin Mu'adh. He was the person who initially did not like the message that Mus'ab was giving because he was a kafir. Later on, after he listened to the message, he started to defend Mus'ab in Medina. And Mus'ab it is said, some of the narrations and historical records tell us, he is the one that the Prophet told, you will be leading the first Jummah. So the first Jummah was led by Mus'ab bin Umair in Medina. And he died in the battle of Uhud, and participated in the battle of Badr at 40 years of age. He's a young man. It's not like he reached a very old age. At his young age, he was able to achieve a lot of things. The second person whom we mentioned just now, Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, again, the Prophet is preparing them. Before I continue, Imam Khomeini, rahmatullahi alayhi, in his philosophy of establishing an Islamic government, he says there are three. It's like a triangle. The first type of this triangle is that you need to have the Sharia, the book. What do you follow? What are your laws in the government? Are you going to make it up as you go? Or no, Allah has given you the laws. The direction comes from Allah. You need Sharia, which is, for in our case, for example, Quran. The second part is you need the leader. You need an Ahlul Bayt, you need the Prophet there to establish the government. That is the second part of the triangle. But there is a third part, very important part. And that is what in the beginning the Prophet was trying to establish. The leader is there, the Holy Prophet. Quran is there to be established. But you need to prepare the third ground, and that is the people. And that is why Iran today is not forcefully choosing a president. In a way, it's Jumhuriyat Islami. Jumhuriyat is democratic. People get to vote and choose their leader. Why? Why should the people, some people used to say democracy is democracy. It's of Shaitan's method to choose a person. Imam Khomeini is saying no. We will filter the right people, candidates. But at the end of the day, the people have to accept the leader. If they don't accept the leader, then how will you establish the Quran? How will the Prophet come into place? You need the people to be prepared. And that is what the Prophet was preparing the people, the followers. Sa'd is the person, the very powerful person. When he converted to Islam, he was able to convert his tribe also to follow Islam. And he was the one, he had so much authority where there was a treason, we'll talk about this, by the Bani Qurayza in the Battle of Ahzab, Khandaq. They sided with the kuffar. Then he was the one who passed the judgment that they should be tried for the treason, for supporting the kuffar. The very popular incident that we know about Sa'd, that I believe most of us will be knowing, is that when he passed away, by the way, when he passed away, he is called Sayyidul Ansar by the Prophet. According to Sunnis also. Sayyidul Ansar, he was head of the Ansar, meaning he was from Moledina. And when he passed away, people carried his, because he took part in many of the battles of Islam. He was the side of the Prophet, he was the help of the Prophet. When people carried his casket and wanted to bury him in the funeral, they noticed his casket is very, his coffin is very light. Prophet said, yes, don't be surprised, because there are 70,000 angels who have come down to carry his coffin too. Very special man. If you listen to the online lectures, there is also a narration that also Sayyid mentions, Sayyid Kazvini, that when he passed away, the throne of Allah shook. It was a very strong pillar of defense of the Prophet passed away and became shaheed. And the famous part that we know about is when he was buried, his mother came. As you know, the Prophet himself came bare feet and buried him. And the part that we know is when he was buried, his mother tried to say that you are going to Jannah, and the Prophet said no. At the moment, he is going to be tried for being bad to his family. It's very difficult to find, even when you are called that 70,000 angels come. When the Prophet calls you Sayyidul Ansar, the throne of Allah shakes when you die. At the same time, you can't be not everyone can be an all-rounded companion. If you ask Imam Khomeini, rahmatullahi alayhi, if he wants to be the real companion, and our ulama, and our Maraja especially, great scholars, ilm is there, but can we say in all aspects of their life they were good? Maybe not all companions, but for our Maraja, that is a criteria. You can't expect the Marja to be good in politics and academics, and at home is not a good person. Then you don't call him a Marja. People will not accept him as a Marja. Imam Khomeini, many stories come out, Imam Khomeini, many of the ulama, that they are not only good outside, strong knowledge-wise, intellectually, but also in the regular day-to-day life, they are the best people, good akhlaq. Recite the salat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now the Prophet is coming into Medina. He establishes a mosque, Masjid Quba. As he is entering, as you can imagine, he is going to now bring that wave of happiness into Medina. Now there is hope that there is going to be someone who is going to guide us. First of all, it was a bit far away, just like Imam Khomeini when he came back from the airport in France. More popular probably than Imam Khomeini was the pilot that was guarding it. If someone sees the pilot, he recognizes him. He was the pilot of Imam Khomeini. When Imam Khomeini was coming down from the airport, when people became happy, that finally we have someone to help us against the Shah. And this Imam Khomeini was building many years ago. Same way as Prophet. This is the style of the Prophet. Many years the Prophet established Islam, built the people, and when they were ready, he came. And people were happy to receive him. When he entered Medina, many people invited him, come stay with us, we will be your host, and we wanted their honor. But the camel of the Prophet is saying, was Ma'mura. It was given an order by Allah. The Prophet said, when people are stopping the camel, come, rest with us, we are our host. The Prophet said, no, leave the camel, it will stop where Allah has ordered it to stop. It moves forward and it stops at the house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, who is this person? Of all the people. Abu Ayyub was a poor person. A miskin person, you can say, in the community. As if the Prophet is saying, I have come in Medina to give value and honor to the poor people. I'm taking care of the poor people first. That's what Imam Khamenei is saying. Again, Sayyid mentions a nice biography on this person. He says, what kind of person? Why would the Prophet come into the... He's poor, fine, but there are other poor people. Why this poor person? It is said that the Prophet, when he came into the house, Abu Ayyub's house had 2 floors. Ground floor and you can say the first floor. So he offered the Prophet, imagine this companion of the Prophet. He said, Prophet of Allah, why don't you stay in the upper floor? I will stay with my family in the ground floor. Why, what's the problem? Whichever floor it can be. No, I don't want to be above the Prophet. Let the Prophet be above me. But the Prophet said, no, don't do that. Why? Because I will have a lot of guests. And then you will be disturbed because I have to come down and you have to make space and you will be disturbed by the voice. The Prophet was also caring for the companions. There was a time this Abu Ayyub, when the Prophet used to finish eating, he used to eat very less. Whatever was left over, he used to give to Abu Ayyub, you finish the rest of the food. And Abu Ayyub was poor, so he wouldn't have much food. Abu Ayyub used to take the remnant of the food, the ento, was barakah. Considering the Prophet as not a normal person, a big person. That's why the Prophet came to his house. In one night, Abu Ayyub spilled some water on the floor. He's on the top floor. And the Prophet is on the bottom floor. Now, whatever houses were made, if you remember, they didn't have cement blocks. They had mud houses. Or something that's very permeable, water can pass through. When he spilled the water could have seeped through and reached the ground floor. If it was me and you, we would recite to Allah, Allah, make sure the water doesn't reach the Prophet, he'll get disturbed. But Abu Ayyub, he had his blankets, he removed the blankets and kept on the floor so that the water dries up. And he was able to sit in the cold. He doesn't want to disturb the Prophet. But the same thing was from the Prophet's side. When the Prophet once was offered by Abu Ayyub dinner, the Prophet said, the Prophet did not eat that food. The food was garlic and onions. Poor person, he can't afford meat. Not like Khawja community. Garlic and onions. The Prophet did not eat. Why? Is it because I don't respect garlic and onions? No, it's because I'm meeting people. If I eat that food, people will be disturbed by my breath and my smell. So it was going both ways. The companions used to care for the Prophet and the Prophet used to care for the companions. This was the environment that the Prophet wanted to be. This is the person to whom the Prophet rested. Now, these are his companions. Who is he fighting against? There are 5 people that Imam Khamenei mentions. I will quickly go through them. Number 1 were jungly people, half barbaric people. They were living around Medina, outside Medina, around 20 farsak, you can say around 100 kilometers outside Medina. They were people, they wanted power, Jahiliyyah people. Power. And when the Prophet came, he had to show them that I am in power, you are not in authority. So he sent around 400 people to them and started to fight them and started to show his power without fighting so that they keep quiet and know someone who is more stronger than you is here. If you think you are the gangster, I am a bigger gangster. Even today, if you see in Iran, there are some people around Iran, they are those simple people. They are mostly fighters. They want to show their power. So Imam Khamenei also has to show his army and tell them, keep quiet, we are also in power. Listen to us. Half barbaric, jungly people. Second group of people were, Imam Khomeini mentioned that the real enemy, which were the Meccan arrogant powers, rich also. In today's age, if I were to mention this, is for example, in America, arrogant, rich, kafir. They were the ones who came into battle. They wanted to take the wealth of the Muslims. The Muslims were ill-equipped, but they had to fight them and show that we are not going to let you go through. In the Battle of Uhud, the Prophet fought and initially won, but they lost in the end. And Imam Khomeini gives a very nice analysis. I'll just quickly mention. In verse number 153 of Ali Imran, Allah says, I have fulfilled my promise to you. وَلَقَدْ صَدَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ. Allah has fulfilled His promise. إِذْ تَحَصُّونَهُمْ بِإِذْنِهِ, where you were able to wipe out the kuffar in the Battle of Uhud in the beginning. But there was a reason why you failed. Imam Khomeini points out three reasons. حَتَّى إِذَا فَشِلْتُمْ وَتَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Number one, tanazu, niza. You are fighting amongst each other. Shaykh Islam says today, in this time after Shakir, Imam Khamenei was martyred, first thing he said was unity. If you are not going to be together in Uhud and you will fight amongst yourselves, some people will say, I want to stay on the mountain, some will say, no, let's go down. The enemies will win over you. Unity is very important. Don't do niza, don't start fighting each other. وَفَشِلْتُمْ. You make yourself feel very relaxed and meek. That the enemy is running away now, we are on the mountains, now we can go take the spoils of war. You become relaxed. But the problem is now, that is when the enemy turns back and attacks you from behind. Iran today says, we have done the peace treaty, but our fingers are on the triggers. We are not going to be relaxed this time. We are going to be firm. And the third written mention is that you did isyan, asaytum. You did not follow the command of the Prophet. No unity. You feel relaxed against the enemy. And number three, you did not obey the order of the leader, the Prophet, the Imam. In today's age, the leader, if you don't follow him, the enemy will attack you. And this is what Iran has realized today, that we are not listening to our Imam, our leader, our Rahbar so much, and that is why we reached this level. When he said, don't do the nuclear treaty, proliferation treaty, they didn't listen, and they did it and they failed. Now, everyone united is saying, whatever said, Mustafa said, they are going to accept. They realize their mistake. You have to listen to the leader. Because he is not acting on his own accord. He is going to be guided openly or secretly by the Imam ﷺ, who is guided by Allah. You need to be connected to Allah. That's why you follow the leader. That was the second enemy, the real enemy, the Makkans, Kuffar. The third enemy is, in today's age, you can call them the Zionists. They were the Jews in Medina. And interestingly, they have the same characteristics. Rich, intellectually strong, powerful, knowledgeable. They used to do usury, interest, riba, and gain the money. And they were the ones playing behind the scenes. All of the three tribes, Qainaka, Bani Nadir, Qurayza, all of them initially said to the Prophet, we are with you, and then they break the bay'ah. That in the battle of Ahzab, they left the battle and did not side with the Muslims, and they supported the Kuffar. The Prophet then goes there and he takes them into siege in their fort, and it is said, Imam Khomeini also mentions that he ordered to kill those people who committed treason. A lot of people. All of them have to be killed, they committed treason. Same Jews, the Zionists. Working underneath, but rich, powerful and smart. Fourth group, which today in Iran is now, I believe, a bit posh. They don't have that much power, but before it had a lot of power. It's were the Munafiq. The Munafiq inside the government of the Prophet and today in Iran were the reasons why the government of Islam stumbles. There was a person in that time by the name Abdullah bin Ubay. The Aus and the Khazraj, they were not very good with each other. They were always fighting with each other. But they said, let us put Abdullah bin Ubay in power and then we can move our agenda forward. In the middle of everything, the Prophet comes in and breaks their plan. The Prophet knows, everybody knows Abdullah bin Ubay is a munafiq. But the Prophet doesn't do anything to him. Whenever he does something, the Prophet tries to silently keep him quiet. In Iran also, the hypocrites were there. They try to keep them quiet, try to resolve the issues because they have not come out. They are disorganized. One is saying this, one is saying that. They just are unhappy. There was a fitna that happened in Iran, fitna Ashkadu Hajj, they call it, in 2009, where almost they wanted to remove the government of Iran, but they didn't. They didn't manage to. These people are there, but they are spread out. They don't have too much strength. But the last enemy, and probably applies to us, and Imam says, Imam Khamenei, this is Jihadul Akbar, is the enemy from within, internal desires. This is the reason why Imam Ali had his companions, had the Sharia, he was there. Why don't the people follow? Malul Dunya, greed, hatred towards one another. Why does Imam Zaman Ali Islam doesn't come today? Because we are not ready. Internally, we are fighting with our own desires. If we cannot accept and fight our own desires, how will we fight for the Imam? The fifth enemy, and probably the most strongest enemy for not progressing, the Islamic government. Inshallah, we pray to Allah that we be among the companions of the Imam alayhi salam and to fight the external enemies and the internal enemy within. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli.